Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Frontline workers for the University of California say they are tired of struggling to make ends meet. Thanks for joining us. I'm John Carroll in for Maya Trabulsi. Thousands of workers formed picket lines today on many of the UC campuses across the state, demanding higher pay and equity. KPBS education reporter M.G. Perez has more from UC San Diego on contract negotiations just getting started.
Treat your workers like you should.
The message got louder as more and more workers arrived here to spend their lunch hour protesting outside several UC San Diego health facilities in La Jolla.
It's horrific. We do not make enough money to make ends meet. We're not making enough money. You know, it's the economy, it's everything.
The American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees Union represents 33,000 of the lowest paid UC service and patient care workers in California. Their jobs include custodial work, medical billing, and many other frontline positions. Dina Johnson is the operating room instrument coordinator at the Jacobs Medical Center. She is also a single mother of a son and daughter.
With the wage that they have here, it's not enough. It's really not enough. Because if you have to work overtime every day just to make ends meet, just to feed your family, I don't think it's not fair.
The union started negotiations for a new contract in January. Workers want a minimum wage of at least $25 an hour and an immediate 5% pay increase. Their last contract was ratified in February 2020, just before the COVID shutdown. A lot has happened since then, and these workers want protection before the contract ends July 31st. They also want the University of California to stop investing some of their pension money in the Blackstone Real Estate Income Trust, a company known for high-priced housing in La Jolla, which many workers cannot afford.
They are making housing unaffordable. It is causing a burden on taxpayers in the form of increased homelessness and leaning on the social system.
In a written statement to KPBS, the University of California said, in part, while UC has no control over statewide rents or housing costs, we know the cost of living in California is high. By providing employees with competitive wages and regular pay increases, we aim to help our employees with their cost of living expenses. Negotiations will continue until both sides reach mutually beneficial agreements. For the moment, union workers will have the last word. M.G. Perez, KPBS News.
There are new numbers showcasing our region's housing affordability crisis. Coming up, where San Diego ranks among the most expensive cities for renters. A proposal to raise the sales tax in the city of San Diego is moving forward. The motion passed unanimously today. The proposal would raise the sales tax 1% from 7 3/4 to 8 3/4%. The mayor's office says the increase would generate an extra $374 million annually. More than a dozen people spoke during public comments. Some oppose the measure because there's already a county sales tax increase on the ballot.
If you do pursue a general sales tax, we recommend that it have a sunset clause. Such a clause would give you, the council, a chance to show that you can wisely spend this money.
If you want to add a 1% boost to a tax, put it on the transient occupancy tax.
The fiscal impacts of the proposal will be analyzed at a future meeting. The November ballot measure will now be drafted. The U.S. Federal Reserve held interest rates steady today as the central bank continues its battle against inflation. But the end to higher prices and higher interest rates may finally be in sight. Ivan Rodriguez has more on what it means for your wallet.
Amid back-to-back months of hotter-than-expected inflation data, the U.S. Federal Reserve announcing Wednesday it will continue to hold its benchmark interest rate steady.
Inflation has eased substantially while the labor market has remained strong, and that is very good news. But inflation is still too high, ongoing progress in bringing it down is not assured, and the path forward is uncertain.
With interest rates sitting at a 23-year high, the relief many market watchers and consumers had been hoping for isn't here yet, but neither is the recession that many feared. Mark Zandi of Moody's Analytics says the U.S. economy is proving to be stronger and more resilient than expected, thanks in part to the record low mortgage rates during the pandemic.
Back in the teeth of the pandemic, you could get a 30-year fixed rate mortgage at 2.5%, 3%, and people refinance down into that. So they're not experiencing higher debt payments because they locked in those previously low rates.
Yet, despite the economy's strengths and robust household balance sheets, people are still facing some headwinds, namely high credit card balances and surging gas prices.
Nothing hurts more quickly, more painfully than higher gas prices. If they move up much more from here, it's going to start to do some real damage.
But as the Fed steadily succeeds in its battle against inflation, the price pressure on consumers is easing, and interest rates may finally start coming down this summer.
I think everyone's going to feel a bit better with each passing month, and by the end of the year, by this time next year, I think people will feel a lot more comfortable.
I'm Ivan Rodriguez reporting.
I'm Ariella Scalise, and coming up tonight, clouds begin to increase. We'll be seeing the marine layer really take over, so expecting those low clouds to be lingering. Temperatures drop into the 50s. Cooler, wet, windy weather makes a comeback before eventually we dry out and warm up. I'll have a closer look at the forecast coming up.
Resolution to a sprawling decade-long Navy corruption case is again delayed after a hearing today. KPBS military reporter Andrew Dyer has the latest from the federal courthouse on the so-called Fat Leonard case.
More than a decade after his arrest and cases against dozens of his co-conspirators, all that's left is to finally sentence Leonard Glenn Francis to prison. That's proving to be difficult. In 2015, Francis pleaded guilty to bribing scores of Navy officers with cash, opulent parties, and prostitutes to facilitate at least $35 million in fraudulent ship husbanding contracts. His sentencing was originally delayed as the cases against his co-conspirators played out. Then in late 2022, Francis escaped from San Diego house arrest and fled to Venezuela. After being turned back over to U.S. custody in a prisoner swap last year, Francis's lawyers said they were done defending him. In January, the judge gave Francis a month to find new lawyers. It wasn't enough, so he was given another 6 weeks. But Francis says that still isn't enough. Today, he asked the court for another 3 months to find a new lawyer. He says communicating from federal lockup has been a challenge. Judge Janice Sammartino seemed ready to grant him the delay, but instead ordered his old attorneys to come to court in 2 weeks to work out a way to help their client move on. It's just the latest delay in a case that has dragged on for years. Hundreds of Navy officers, including scores of admirals, were investigated. Francis is due back in court March 29th. From the federal courthouse in San Diego, I'm Andrew Dyer, KPBS News.
A controversial immigration law in Texas is bouncing back and forth between the U.S. Supreme Court and a panel of federal appeals judges. They heard legal arguments today, but caught in between is the state's immigrant community. Laura Aguirre has more on Texas Senate Bill 4, what it is, and what could happen next.
Texas is in a legal tug-of-war. Governor Greg Abbott wants to start enforcing SB 4, the state's new immigration law that he signed last year. It empowers state and local law enforcement to detain people they suspect of entering the U.S. illegally. But it's facing a myriad of legal challenges from the Biden administration and other groups. And while those court battles play out, the U.S. Supreme Court issued a temporary order Tuesday allowing Texas to enforce SB 4. But hours later, A federal appeals court slammed the brakes on that, and the governor pushed back Wednesday.
Texas has a right to defend ourselves, and we will use that authority to declare an invasion and fight back against that invasion.
SB 4 has sparked protests, and critics say it greenlights racial profiling. After Tuesday's legal maneuvering, some cities moved quickly to allay those fears.
We don't want our deputies making arrests unless somebody has actually committed a crime.
It can be just by seeing somebody and the officer thinking that he's not from here and then asking for documents. It doesn't work like that.
But exactly how it will work is now back in the hands of the 5th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals, for now, with the governor, the state, and the eyes of the nation watching.
What Texas is doing on immigration would be akin to them declaring their own wars, would create massive confusion across not just Texas, but other states.
I'm Laura Aguirre for KPBS News.
Lawyers for former President Donald Trump are requesting a pause on at least 5 civil lawsuits linked to the January 6th riot. In court filings, his lawyers say their trial strategy in Trump's criminal cases could be compromised if the civil suits go forward. They're also calling for the judge to wait for the Supreme Court's decision on presidential immunity. Those who are suing Trump say they will respond to the request next week. Home prices are on the rise in San Diego County, along with the rest of the state. Numbers released by the California Association of Realtors show the median price of a single-family home in our county was $980,000. That's up from $925,000 the previous month. Statewide, the median price was more than $806,000, up from $789,000 in January. In the wake of multiple massive wildfires, some property insurance companies have severely raised their rates or withdrawn from California altogether. A new proposal would create a method of calculating rates using climate change-informed predictions of future disasters. It's aimed at bringing back insurance companies and creating more affordable policies. The so-called catastrophe models are already used when insuring against earthquake losses. The proposed regulations would extend to flooding and wildfires. The California Department of Insurance is holding a workshop next month to get public input. San Diego is once again among the most expensive rental markets in the country. KPBS reporter Melissa May breaks down the details of a new report, including which areas are the priciest and where rent is a bit more affordable.
Zumper is a rental platform that provides monthly national reports with up-to-date data on the 100 most populated cities in the U.S., where San Diego ranks as the 8th most expensive city.
We look at over 1 million active listings throughout the country every month, and then we look at the active listing rents. So we think we have the best picture of the open market.
Crystal Chen with Zumper says in February, a 1-bedroom rental in San Diego was $2,300, which is a couple $100 more than the state median price, but is almost $1,000 more than Zumper's national rent index. Zumper also breaks down the rental market further and releases monthly reports of metro areas, including the San Diego market.
We do kind of a zoom in on San Diego's market, and that covers about 12 cities in the metro area. And San Diego ranked as the 4th most expensive city in the metro report.
The top 3 most expensive cities to rent in the San Diego metro area are Coronado, with 1-bedroom rentals at $3,900, followed by Encinitas at $2,700, and Carlsbad with rent at $2,400. But Chen has some good news for renters.
San Diego rent has been declining for the last 5 months, which is in line with national trends. I think San Diego returned to kind of normal seasonality patterns in 2023 after some huge spikes in late 2021 through 2022.
Zumper also says that more than 4,000 new apartments are going to become available across San Diego County in 2024, and
And then also the U.S. Census Bureau showed that almost 31,000 more people moved out of the county last year than moved in. So that resulted in a slight dip in San Diego's population overall, likely because a lot of people were priced out of the area from the last 2 years.
The report determined that El Cajon is the most affordable place to rent in San Diego, with a one-bedroom going for $1,780 a month, followed by La Mesa with rent at $1,980, and Chula Vista, Escondido, and Imperial Beach were tied for third most affordable with rents at $2,000. The report also found that rentals in National City have increased the most since last year. Melissa May, KPBS News.
Time is running out for a state program that provides diapers for low-income families. KPBS North County reporter Alexander Nguyen says funding for the Diaper Bank in San Diego County is at risk because of the state's budget shortfall.
At North County Food Bank in Vista, Leonard Alfaro gets more than just food for her growing family. She also gets diapers through the Diaper Bank for her twin girls, Talita and Tanya. Her husband is the only one in the family working right now. And without the Diaper Bank, she says it would be more of a financial hardship to raise her family.
Porque como son dos, y sí batallo como para los pañales ahorita como a veces se me acaban y a veces tengo que comprar. Ajá, y a los días que me toca venir aquí, pues ya me ayudan con los pañales.
The Food Bank's Vista warehouse serves as a distribution hub, working with more than 100 other organizations to deliver diapers to low-income families. Vanessa Osegueda was one of the parents who benefited from the program. She received diapers through Miracle Babies, one of the Diaper Bank's partners. Osegueda says with premature triplets and a toddler under 2, not having to worry about diapers was a huge stress reliever.
I wasn't working at the time because COVID had just hit, and also I had the triplets, so I needed to take more time off than normal. So, I mean, it was a huge blessing to our family.
But funding for the $30 million state program is set to expire in June. San Diego Food Bank receives $3.7 million of that money for the Diaper Bank. Because of the size of the projected budget shortfall, the governor's office says the program is not set for renewal. Without the diaper program, for some family, it becomes a choice between diapers or food, and that could lead to some health complications for the children. Casey Castillo is the CEO of the San Diego Food Bank. He says nearly half of San Diego's families struggle to buy diapers.
Families, when they're struggling with basic needs, putting food on the table or purchasing diapers for their children or infants, will ration those diapers, keep them on longer than they should be on, which causes rashes and other health issues.
The food bank is working with local state representatives to get funding and renew the program. Alexander Nguyen, KPBS News.
The Los Angeles Dodgers beat the Padres 5-2 in their season opener this morning. Although the game was overseas and despite the 3 a.m. start time, that didn't stop the Friar faithful from showing their support.
People are proud of the Padres, and even if they're not necessarily always dominating or ever dominating the league, they're our team, and it's fun to root for them. Once you walk in and you see all the Padres fans, it's kind of surprising, and it kind of gives you the energy of like, this feels like a real game finally.
Spoken like a true fan. Hundreds of them gathered at the 7 Mile Casino in Chula Vista to root on their team. The Dodgers scored 4 runs in the 8th inning to take the lead and the victory. Their next matchup will be tomorrow, again in Seoul, South Korea, starting at 3 a.m.
And let's take a look at our weather headlines, starting off with the marine layer continuing to linger, so those periods of low clouds is something we can expect. Then, hey, heads up for cooler, wet, and even windy weather making a comeback as we head into the end of the week and parts of the weekend before it returns to a drier and warmer pattern as we head early into next week. Through tonight across San Diego County, we'll see those clouds increasing down to 54 degrees in San Diego. Oceanside, you'll drop to 50, Chula Vista 53. Not too bad overnight into Mount Laguna at 41, and Borrego Springs, you drop down to 54. Through the day on Thursday, we have a dry pattern still lingering up and down the California coast, through the valleys and into the mountains. Things look good throughout tomorrow. But as we head into the end of the week, through the weekend, we're going to be watching some changes. So hopefully you can get out and enjoy what's going to be a nice day in Borrego Springs, 85, Mount Laguna, 51. We'll see some low clouds into Chula Vista at 70 degrees. In San Diego, temperatures into the upper 60s. Still dry for us here in SoCal as we head into the day Friday. You see into Northern California, we start to see the precip make a comeback with some showers and even some mountain snow returning as we head into the day on Friday. Then the pattern through the weekend here, you see a bit of a dip in the jet stream. We'll see those showers sink a bit farther south. So eventually, as we head into the day Saturday and Sunday, that's when you'll start to see things maybe not as great for any kind of those outdoor plans. Looking across the coast here, there it is, Saturday and Sunday with a couple of showers making their way on through. Temperatures also drop with this pattern. Highs only into the mid-60s the weekend through early next week. Looking a bit further inland, where we've got a nice couple of days on the way, 74 on Thursday, 72 on Friday, and then a few showers moving through for Saturday and Sunday, and cooler weather lingers into early Monday. Looking into the mountains, where it's going to be very windy as we head into the day on Saturday with some precip and even windier and colder conditions on Monday. Yikes, a high of only 32 degrees. Wrapping things up through the desert, where temperatures will be dropping over the next couple of days. Could see a shower or two on Saturday and then windier conditions Sunday into Monday. For KPBS News, I'm Ariella Scalise.
This Women's History Month, one Trailblazer is inspiring the next generation of firefighters right here in San Diego County. Lorraine Hutchinson was one of the first black female firefighters at San Diego Fire and Rescue. She climbed up the ranks for 25 years, first as an engineer, ultimately leaving as deputy chief. Now she's teaching the next generation at Southwestern College. Diversity in the fire force is her mission. She told our media partner KGTV there are no black female firefighters at San Diego Fire Rescue right now to carry on her legacy.
You know, when I was in the department, you know, I would talk to people about just diversity and making sure we had diversity. The response that I would get is, but they don't come to us ready and trained, and we can't hire them because, you know, they can't compete because they're not ready. So when I got the opportunity to come here, it's like, yes, I can get them ready, and that can't be an excuse now.
Hutchinson says more than half of the students in the Southwestern program are Hispanic, and she says she's always excited to see them get hired on at local fire departments. Imagine this, staying away from the workplace for a couple of years, then returning, but you find yourself a little rusty with how to interact with your co-workers properly. Many companies acknowledge that seems to be what's happening following the pandemic. Now, as Claire Duffy explains, they're working to help their employees brush up on their office etiquette skills.
The return to the office was tough for many people. It meant returning to long commutes, less flexibility, and an unwelcome surprise. Some people have forgotten how to behave. A resume builder survey from July found that nearly 2/3 of companies are planning to offer workplace etiquette classes in 2024. The issues are wide-ranging, from how to behave in front of clients to what conversations are appropriate for the office. And etiquette consultants like Ann Chertoff say demand is booming.
So in the past 2 years, we've seen a 100% increase in companies reaching out to us and ordering trainings in a variety of topic areas.
We spoke with Chertoff about some of the most common workplace behavior faux pas and how managers should handle them. And with the help of some willing coworkers, she gave us some hands-on pointers. All right, so Ann, talk to us about proper workplace attire. We just saw workplace sweatsuit. What do you think of that?
So the way we do dress attire today is dress for your day. And if you're at home, you can definitely wear athleisure, you could wear sweatpants because you're not interacting with other people in a visual way. But if you're going into the office, you need to step it up a little bit.
Now, some of these issues have been around for a long time.
Oh, come on. Do you see this?
Habits from the work from home era are coming back with people as they return to the office.
Leaving the dirty dish on the counter, not the right move.
No, because you're not being respectful or considerate to the other people that you work with.
Adjusting to the hybrid work era brought challenges of its own.
Tony! Guys, tell him something. This is publicly recorded.
What's appropriate for a Zoom call still causes debate, including whether you really need to get fully dressed.
The problem with wearing pajama pants or sweatpants or, leggings from the gym or something like that is that if you do have to get up to get something, they could see that you're wearing athleisure.
And it's not just Zoom calls. Taking old-fashioned phone calls around coworkers can also lead to all sorts of problems.
Yellow. Yeah, he's sitting right behind me. Why?
It's not just eavesdroppers who cause friction. It's also those who do this.
Yeah, are we going to happy hour later? Yeah, where are we going?
So if we were trying to get work done here, we were trying to have a meeting, this would probably be a little distracting.
So sometimes people don't realize that the volume of their voice is as loud as it is. And I've been a victim of that, so I completely get that. They might not realize that they're talking so loud. They might not realize that you've overheard their entire medical history on the phone.
Chertoff told me she works with all types of companies on workplace etiquette. And while all levels of workers participate, dealing with one group of employees has proven especially tricky.
Companies are hiring us to come in to teach new hires, Gen Z right out of college, first job right out of grad school, but also to kind of reinforce those skills to colleagues who were out of the office in remote settings for so many years, and now they're coming back.
Now, while this era of return to work has brought its challenges, there's good news too. Chertoff says all of these things are like muscle memory. So as we get used to being back together, we should get better at remembering how to behave. Claire Duffy, CNN, New York.
Here's a look at what we're working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. On NPR's Morning Edition, how people are learning to spot AI hoaxes and online conspiracy theories. And KPBS Midday Edition has a wrap-up of all the best arts and culture events happening around town in the weekend preview. You can find all of our stories tonight on our website, kpbs.org. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm John Carroll. Have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.